So Netflix is deciding, and I think this is only in certain countries, to basically do TV. Like
Okay, no, this is not
you,
what I had. All I
you,
had.
you haven't heard of this? Okay.
So I had Netflix raising prices. So
Okay, yeah,
a
that
couple weeks ago,
I agree. That is
they raised the
boring
prices.
and also like really bad news.
Yes,
Okay, so
awesome. This is good news. This is good news.
Yeah, I think it's just in a few countries they're testing this. I think France actually is where they're doing this, but maybe they'll try this in other countries. But basically, what they're doing is they're creating their own TV channel.
That's awesome.
And when I say TV channel, like straight up full schedule, you cannot like basically like skip ahead, change. It's literally TV.
Yes, this is what I've been saying, right? You know,
Yeah.
I've been saying this for years that I have a problem with on demand, and that it requires active. And this ties in with last episode, right? We talked about the number one device being my TV because it's very passive activity. And
Yep.
the problem with on demand is it always involves this active selection. This is crazy.
Yeah.
How? Okay, tell me more.
So they're calling
That's
it. They're calling it direct.
Okay.
As a channel, but yeah, it's essentially. I don't know what content they're going to put on here. I don't know if it's going to be multiple channels or whatnot. But
Yeah.
essentially, there's going to be a schedule of shows and movies that play on this. And if you load it up, like it just you just start watching wherever in the schedule
Yes.
it is, right? And it's basically like a broadcast, right? And I think I don't know why exactly they're testing this out. They must have some reason, but I mean, what I suspect, I mean, you and I have like talked about kind of like the like on demand media versus what it kind of lacks. But
Yeah.
I mean, this makes a lot of sense. I think Netflix. It's one of those things that makes you realize how good of a like product company Netflix is and their strategy, because this is basically like I think if you were to start getting into streaming media, it makes
Yeah.
sense that you start with on demand, especially when Netflix was doing it, right?
Yeah.
That's where the opportunity was. But where do you go once when you basically figured it all out around on demand things, right? You start now getting into some of the gaps, and I think a lot of people will see this and they're like, oh, like they'll probably make fun of it, right? They'll probably be
Yeah.
like, it's like, oh, congrats Netflix, like you invented TV, like good job,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But no, it's a really good strategy because again, they went after the net new thing first, which is the
Yep.
shift on demand, but that doesn't invalidate some folks or some maybe just some days you just feel like putting something on.
Yeah.
And you're not like, the point is not you're intending to watch something you already have in mind.
Yep.
The point is something else, right? Whatever
Yeah.
that is, like you just need to put something on in the background. You just got to waste some time, like whatever it is. That's still a legitimate use case, right?
Not to
if
mention,
if
like-
it wasn't, then why would radio still exist, right? Like,
That's
why
exactly
would,
it.
So,
That's 100% it, right? Like Apple has their, like, they have Apple Music, but they have their radio stations, right?
yeah.
And like, there's a million use cases for it, right? Like pure discovery, like discovering something new, right? Like I find the browse interface, you don't really discover anything because
Yeah.
you're very rarely going to actively just decide, oh, because Netflix suggested this new movie, I'm going to play it, right? That's just,
Yeah.
But like if it's already on, you're going to watch it. I'll tell you what actually excites me about it a little bit too is how kind of traditional broadcast integrates with on demand, because I'll tell you, one of the very interesting things that I've experienced with Ignite TV is so Ignite TV actually has a lot of on demand stuff like in it.
This
right?
is a service from Rogers, right?
Rogers,
Like,
yeah. So, and I'm sure like basically every cable provider now is kind of going this way, right? It's basically IP based TV, right? So you have your regular broadcast cable, but then you have like a really good selection of on demand. Like everything is there. So like past TV shows, free movies, all these kind of things are in there. And what I find really cool about the way that they've done it is that when you watch something on demand, it basically acts like a channel. So what'll happen is like I'll throw on like a repeat episode of like Family Guy, right? Because nothing really on TV, but I'm kind of interested in the U.S. election, right? So I'm kind of flipping between CNN
Yeah.
and like an episode of Family Guy, right? And what's cool is that because they're like channels, it's like literally as easy as hitting like, oh, back, right? Like, back to the previous channel. So I'm like going between an on-demand video and broadcast TV, right? Whereas normally that would be like, oh, I'm watching broadcast TV, which is its own atmosphere, its own, sorry, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Its own, what the hell's the word I'm looking for? Environment.
Like interface or like,
yeah, its own like, infrastructure. I don't know what the word like. It's in its own bubble,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
compared to everything else we watch, right?
Yeah.
Like Netflix, Apple TV Plus, all this stuff is on the Apple TV, but this
Yeah.
one piece that's missing is in its own world, right?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like Bell offers like an Apple TV app, so you can watch TV through the Apple TV and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I really like this idea that like, TV traditional broadcast is not dying, because I do think there's a huge
Yeah, and I mean exactly what you're saying. I suspect a big reason, they're seeing a lot of advantage in this is because again, it's still gonna be their content, right?
yeah.
So
yeah, right.
Again, it's a
right.
discovery mechanism because maybe you're just watching this broadcast and you see something really interesting. It is really awesome that hey, you can just say, oh, I'm gonna dive into that, right? So I'm
Yeah,
assuming
yeah,
they're gonna have
actually,
some really cool
yeah.
way to like, hey, this is like this is not on demand. Like, oh, sorry, this broadcast is live, let's say, or on schedule, but you can
Yeah.
dive in from there.